It's going to be under my my profile page. Okay. So if I could ask everybody to just put your phones away, I just want to have a really pleasant discussion with all of you. Welcome again to talk, and Mazel Tov to Nathan for getting accepted to the Israel trip. We're all very excited. That brings the Houston crowd to potentially 8 people. 2 people have to get back to me by the end of the week, but it's going to be awesome.
What?
Okay.
What?
So
are you still going to what?
Israel trip.
What Israel trip?
Okay. So what I want to discuss today with you, and I want to hear all of your perspectives on this topic, is the title of the class is Positivity. It's in your hands. So I have a lot of really impactful information that has really changed my life for the better. I think all of us, have our casual ups and downs. We all have our struggles. No one is free of this. This is whether one is suffering from mental health issues or not. It is part of life to go through moments of seasonal, periodical, you could call it depression, you could call it moments of letdown, moments where you don't feel good. But let us analyze, okay? The Jewish understanding is that the world was created by a God, and that God did not have a need to create the world, and the fact that God nevertheless created the world indicates goodness. Because if this God is infinite, and if this God was lacking nothing, is lacking nothing, then there's no need for creation. God was fine without creation. God was fine with creation. Why did God need to do it? The understanding that we have to try to explain and lend insight into creation, which is really where a lot of religions come in, because scientifically there's no real way to, at least yet, to prove in the idea of a creator. We are lending perspective to based on this idea that everything that you can see, feel, touch, hear is finite. Anything that you can see, feel, touch, hear is finite, has a beginning, has an end, has a creator, and that creator had a purpose in creating. We are no different than the MacBook, the eyeglasses, the kippah, the running shoes. They all have a creator. They're all finite. They all have a beginning. They all have a purpose. We are the same. If this is a God that's good, it stands to reason that we should be happy. Right? Does it make sense? And you can argue with me here. This is an open discussion. Does it make sense that a God of infinite good is putting us in a world where we are going to be experiencing bad our entire lives, or periodically, or whatnot? What do you think?
I think, does it make sense that an all-good God would let us experience bad sometimes in our life, or are you saying, does it make sense that other people think
how do we lend perspective to the idea that in reality we seem to all go through these moments? We don't want to be having these moments, but they find us.
Depends how deep you want to go.
Huh?
The answer depends on how deep you want to go.
Okay.
If you want to go just one level, it's all the bad you go through are stepping stones, learning curves for you to grow.
Yeah.
That's just one level, but then the next one, why do we even exist? There's a much deeper level.
Right.
It depends which level you're on.
Right.
Well, there's the one viewpoint where you wouldn't understand what happiness is if you don't have the opposite end of the spectrum to compare it to.
Okay. So you seem to be saying there that those moments of sadness or depression enable us to adequately appreciate happiness. My question for you is, were you ever in doubt as to what happiness feels like?
No, but
is that something that's difficult to recognize? It gets boring?
Not boring, but like, if you were always happy, it's flat.
Don't we want to always be happy?
No.
Why not?
We may think we... Well, yeah, no, we do, but happy is relative.
A lot.
So if everything was always great, but it was just great, it's just flat. It's always the same. There's no excitement in life.
Can I tell you what the future is going to look like? The future is going to be a flat, extreme pleasure. Okay? When the Misilat Yesharim, the path of the just, teaches us that the reason why we were created was to enjoy the ultimate pleasure. What's the ultimate pleasure? A level of extreme closeness to the Almighty that cannot be enjoyed in this world, but rather the next world. We don't know how to quantify that pleasure.
How do you know it's not constantly getting better? That pleasure isn't constantly...
We don't have a way of knowing one or the other. The implication, though, is that it's directly related to how you live your life in this world.
But also the implication
right?
is that... Well, also the implication from the way you just said it is that it can only be experienced in that world. So, so there's no reason to ask why wouldn't we always want to feel a consistent happiness in this world? Because Mesilat Yesharim just said, we quoted it, that even if we could feel that, it wouldn't be the same sensation as what we're going to feel in the Olam Haba.
Right. I think what Tzvi is asking is that not necessarily is that enjoyment or pleasure in Olam Haba going to be flat. Okay, but just bear in mind that whatever that pleasure is, it's so great that even flat is going to be the most extreme amount of pleasure you could potentially enjoy. Whatever pleasure you can think of in this world, imagine constant that. Isn't that?
Okay, fine. Fine. So something that I take pleasure in, I'm sure everyone else does as well.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Well,
I know exactly what you're going to say. You are surely referring to this.
No.
Really? This is pleasure right here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's called the fidget spinner. Yes, continue.
Achievement.
Yes.
Overcoming challenges. That's growth.
Overcoming challenge.
That's growth. That's pleasure. Then growth is. Then it has to be.
Is this distracting?
A lot of times in Tehillim and in our prayers, the author really gives a lot of credit to a person or to a people. Ashrei ha'ish, Ashrei ha'am. Ashrei doesn't mean happy. Ashrei doesn't have a direct English meaning. It could mean blessed. It could mean contented.
Yeah.
Pirkei Avot says that who is rich, he was content with what he had.
That doesn't say who is happy. It says who is rich, though.
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
I thought Ashrei means content.
Praised is the one.
It doesn't have a good English translation but it captures this idea that, and some controversial places in Tanakh that have the word Ashrei clearly illustrate someone who's gone through a very rough ordeal.
Yeah.
So if that's what the authors of the Tanakh want us to emulate in our life and show that this is our goal, then it shows us that being happy all the time isn't a goal in life, but like what Tzvi said, going through this catharsis and going through and coming to achievement, that's the life God wants for us.
I said something. We had a Shabbaton this past Shabbat in Beit Rabbah, and they asked me to speak about the Haftarah. So the Haftarah talks about how the Jewish people's evil inclination caused them to sin, and that caused us to ultimately get spit out of the land of Israel. The land of Israel is a land that is inherently holy. This is something that really, I'm sure Nir can relate to this. This is something that really, and you too, Austin, that really gets to me, is that you have so many Jews out there that are so pro-Israel without even, paying attention to the inherent holiness, whose origins are the very reason why we even have that connection in the first place. You have people that have very little connection to actual, Judaism that are tremendously pro-Israel, and that's great, and I commend them for that, but I just think it's so sad. So either way, the land is so holy that if the inhabitants of that land, the Jewish inhabitants of that land, are not keeping in line with that holiness, the land can't sustain them because the land has to be holy. Okay? However, the end of the Haftarah says something very, very inspiring. And the end of the Haftarah says, don't worry, because the evil inclination will eventually be the cause of your return. And that's a very cryptic statement. But there's a wonderful, wonderful explanation that can help explain, hi Jennifer, that can help explain this idea. And the idea is as follows. Okay? Get ready for this. Okay? There is a Gemara, there is a Talmud that says, okay, that the Yetzer Hara, the Satan, the Satan, and the Malach HaMavet, the angel of death, are all the same. I'll say that again. The angel of death the Satan, and the Yetzer Hara are all different names for the same being. Okay?
Bad. It's just bad.
Wait a second. But here's the thing. If it's an angel of death, it's still an angel. What is an angel? The Torah tells us it's very simple. The Chachamim, the rabbis tell us, an angel is a being that is conditioned to not, it doesn't have free will. It is pure. It has to do 100% the will of God. What's the will of God? Good. The will of God is only good. I've given the class many, many times before why good things happen to bad people, why bad things happen to good people. The whole concept, the whole issue with that class is that the title is flawed. You can only say that bad things happen to good people if you are going with a definition that whatever it is that you're referring to bad is what is universally accepted as bad. But like one of you touched upon already, the whole idea of bad is really relative. If we believe that God is everywhere, God is involved. Not only did God create the world, but what we are saying is that God runs the world, that God is there everywhere, all the time, monitoring everything everything that's going on in the world, and that God is good. So bad is all relative, right? One of the most life-changing events that ever happened in my life. I was learning in yeshiva, and my family had made aliyah, and they decided, talk about protective parenting, to move 30 seconds away from my yeshiva. So they were living close by, and I knew that I wasn't about to start living at my parents' house. I was already in my 20s. No offense to any of you that are currently living in your parents' homes. No biggie. It's not a big deal. But I did go for Shabbatot, and my mom makes really good food. Now, one Shabbat, a friend of mine says, "Hey, Johnny, I have a chavruta, I have a study partner who was matched with me in the yeshiva. He's married, and he's an Israeli avrech. He's an Israeli study partner that was given to me. The yeshiva pays him, or my parents pay him, and I learn with him. It's like a tutor in the yeshiva. Can you come with me? He invited me for Shabbat day. Can you come with me and spend the Shabbat day meal with me at my chavruta's house?" I was very, very reluctant. My family, I don't see them the whole week, even though they live 30 seconds away. My mother makes really good food. It's a chance to reconnect with my brothers, with my siblings. Comfortable place. I really wasn't interested. But I could tell that my friend really wanted me to join. My friend really, really wanted me to join. So part of the reason why I said, yes, I'll go, was to show support for my friend. Guys, I have to tell you, it was crazy. I walk into this guy's house, this Avrech's house, okay? The entire apartment, what's up, boy? The entire apartment is the size of less than half of this room. I promise you. Maybe even less than that. You walk in, there's like no room to move, tiny little kitchen on the right, tiny dining room on the left, a couple, small bedrooms, tiny apartment. And I'm walking into this apartment and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I got myself into. This is the one time a week where I get a chance to, zone out, enjoy good food, good atmosphere. And now, I'm about to have this Shabbat dinner in this family. I'm not ready for this. So guys, I have to tell you, and I kid you not, this was the nicest Shabbat meal I've ever had in my entire life. This family had no money. There was very little food on the table. But you know what? There was tons of kids, like 10 kids, running around all over the place. But you know what they were fighting about? I'll let you translate, okay? There were two kids. They were fighting each other. One of them was like, "Lo, ani rotze she'ha'orech yeshev bakiseh sheli." And the other one was saying, "Lo, ani rotze." And this one was saying, "Ten lo et ha'of sheli. Ten lo et ha'of sheli." And I speak Hebrew. I understood what was going on there. And I got really, really emotional because, how often do you see in today's world, when you go to someone's house, right? Kids are fighting over the Game Boy. They're fighting over the smartphone. Game Boy. Whatever. There's no Game Boys anymore, right? They're fighting over the smartphone. They're fighting over the computer. They want more food. Give me more food. Give me this. Give me that. Right? They're not fighting over they don't even realize there's guests, right? And these kids are somehow trained into this system whereby they are genuinely wanting to give me the seat. They're genuinely wanting to give up what little food they have. And there wasn't a lot of food on the table. My friends, there was a joy at that meal that, transcends anything I've ever seen. There really was. Bad is relative. If you had to ask this Avrech, this married man who was probably in his 30s at the time, hey, are you suffering? Are you having a hard time with the fact that you really barely make ends meet, if at all? You have barely any food on the table. You're supporting a very big family that you probably, you're struggling. Are you having a hard time? He might agree that he's having a hard time, but in his mind, it's not bad. It's good, right? It's all a question of how you condition in your mind what's good, what's bad. There was a famous rabbi. Anybody ever hear of the Baba Sali? Anybody ever hear of the Baba Sali? The Baba Sali was a rabbi who lived in Morocco. I think he died, if I'm not mistaken, in the 1980s. This is a rabbi that lived in his home studying Torah his entire life. He had a tunnel built in his home to be able to walk underground to go to a mikvah so that he wouldn't have to see anything impure, anything immoral. The only woman he ever saw in his lifetime was his wife, for reasons of modesty and reasons of his own personal morality. This was an extremely, extremely holy person that all he did was learn Torah. He was extremely poor and ate very, very little. Okay? But if you were to ask him, are you suffering? Why are you causing this suffering upon yourself? Why are you eating so little? Right? He doesn't think he's suffering. He's lost his appetite for materialism because he's so into Kedusha. He's so into holiness. The more you're into holiness, by definition, the less you're into materialism. The more you're into materialism, the less you're into spirituality. They don't work hand in hand. That is a rule. We are made up of body and soul. We make our bodies happy. We are letting our spirituality take a back seat. We're making our spirituality happy, our Torah happy, our holiness happy. We're giving our bodies a bad seat. I learned this with you at the Kollel a couple months ago. The concept of bad people seemingly having it good in this world. Very often you'll see someone that's not a good person, driving the nicest car, having the nicest job, lives in a beautiful mansion, has a gorgeous wife, whatever it is, or vice versa, whatever the situation. And you ask yourself, like, whoa, why does this guy have this? Or why does this girl have this? Why am I struggling like this and having a hard time? I'm dealing with this issue, that issue, relationships, whatever. So there's two answers. First of all, the easy answer is it's not all what it seems. Okay, obviously you never, ever know what's going on in other people's lives. Don't ever assume you know what's going on. You're the type of guy to love this, right? Don't ever assume that you that you know what's going on in other people's lives, because you just don't. But the deeper answer, I feel like I need it back now. the deeper answer, and I want you to listen to this, okay? Our God is a God of mercy, but He's also a God of justice, a God of truth. It would behoove God to give someone a reward in a currency that person cannot appreciate. Let's say Danielle comes and does a whole... Get that back right now. Let's say Danielle comes to my factory, and she designs an incredible architecture building. And she's working hard, and she does a phenomenal job. And I say, Danielle, I really, really, really appreciate it. Here is a bunch of Chinese yen. Okay, it's 100 Chinese yen. I don't even know if yen is yen the Chinese currency? Yeah. Okay, is that a lot of money?
No.
It's not. $100 you'd be thrilled. $100 you'd be thrilled. A Chinese person living in China would be thrilled, I hope. Right? But 100 yen to you doesn't mean much to you. So am I doing you a favor by giving you the 100 yen? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The same thing Rabbi Dessler says is true with why God gives bad people good in this world. Because what's the alternative? God has to divvy, that good somehow. That's what it means that God is a God of justice. I am going to give this individual exactly what's coming to him for what he's done. If he's done good, he's going to get good. How do I give him that good? If I give him that good in the same currency that my tzaddikim, my righteous children, the top echelon of my people are getting an olam haba, is that a currency that this bad person can appreciate? No. Whose fault is it that this individual cannot appreciate that currency? His own. His own. He has a lifetime to develop his appetite for that currency. The currency of ultimate pleasure, which is the raison d'être for which we were created, is godliness. The currency, the highest currency that God aims to treat us with and reward us with, is a currency that needs to be developed. It's an appetite that needs to be developed. And it's not an easy currency to develop an appetite for. And it touches upon what one of you said. You said that those struggles are really for the good. Yes. Part of developing one's appetite for that currency is that, you know what? I had a very difficult encounter with, let's say I don't know Chaim, okay? And my car breaks down. And Chaim comes over, he's got a truck, he wants to fix my truck. And he comes over to me in the middle of the highway, and he's being very difficult with me. He wants $500 before he's even begun looking at my car. And I'm like, hey, dude, get out of here. What's the matter with you? And we get into a whole fight in front of everybody. Huge chilul Hashem, desecration of God's name. I have a very negative reaction to Chaim, right? So there's two ways I could go about that. I could move on my day and just consider Chaim to be a very, annoying person, someone that I don't want anything to do with for the rest of my life. Or, like one of you said, I could turn that into a positive experience. Turning that into a positive experience is not an easy thing to do, but it's worthwhile. It's worthwhile because I am becoming better in that process, so much so that the next time I come in contact with someone difficult like Chaim, he's not difficult, he's the sweetest guy I know, right? Difficult like Chaim, I'll be in a better place to deal with that. So the short answer is, bad things happening to good people? It's not. It's good things happening to bad people because they deserve it for those few things that they did that are good in this world in a currency that they can appreciate. But someone that's a tzaddik, that's done tremendously amazing things and built themselves up and elevated themselves in this world, for them to not have material good is not punishment. It's the opposite. They're perfectly happy not having the mansion, not having the luxury car, not having the vacations. It's not what speaks to them. And you know why? They've taught themselves to not need it, to not want it. So this is what you need to know, is that we can train ourselves to be less dependent on our physical, materialistic needs. I'm going to repeat that because, my friends, this is so important. It's behind the concept of dieting. It's behind the concept of quitting smoking. It's behind the concept of learning Torah. It's behind everything that we do in elevating ourselves is being done with the idea that I have, right, the title of this class, positivity. It's in your hands. We'll get to positivity in a moment. Everything with respect to your spirituality is in your hands. We all have it in our domain to make free will decisions to inhibit and lessen our need for greater materialism and physicality. Now, part of our goals in life is to be successful. Successful can mean a great many things. It could be successful in business. It could be successful in our relationships. It could be successful in our families, right? Can we all agree that we are at our best when we are at a high energy level, right? We want to be high energy. If we're feeling low energy, we're not as capable of producing at the highest level, okay? Would you agree with me that being happy lends support to having energy? Yeah?
Yes.
Do you feel higher energy when you're happy?
Yes.
Huh? You do? Okay. So the question is, if we are meant to be productive in life, and this is a God of good that put us in this world to be productive, and he wants us to be productive, okay? And we understand that in life, it's an equal struggle, and that we have just as much of an opportunity of falling as growing, then it stands to reason that it is in our power to be happy. Does anyone disagree with that?
Could you repeat that?
Okay. If we were created by a God of good, and that God of good wants us to eventually achieve the greatest gift, the greatest pleasure possible, which is closeness to Him, and the way to earn that pleasure is by using our lifetime in this world, making free will decisions, compromising on our physicality in the quest for spirituality, okay, to attain godliness and elevate ourselves. And to do that, we need to have good energy. And to have good energy, we need to be in a good state of mind, i.e. happy. It stands to reason that we also have free will to be happy, to enable us to achieve that goal.
Being happy is a choice. It's not.
Is it a choice? That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
I'm asking you.
Yeah.
I want to hear your take on this.
Yes.
Yeah?
It's not like every emotion really is a choice. Like you can choose to be angry if someone cuts you off in driving. You can choose to whatever, be chill about it.
The way you see something is the way that you should be. Is the way that happiness comes.
Say it louder.
The way you see yourself is the way that you're going to be happy about it.
The way you see yourself is the way you are going to be happy about it. Can you explain?
So you are seeing the driver cutting you off as someone that's cutting you off on purpose, or maybe he was on his phone and he turned to your lane and you didn't see it.
Right.
So the way you take it is
Judging someone favorably, in other words, kind of.
if you give the benefit of the doubt every single time, you won't be mad about all of a sudden.
Right, so that's when you talk about other people as well. But if just yourself, like you can choose to be happy. It's not easy.
Like let's say he did cut you off on purpose, then you don't have to be like all upset about
Thank
it.
you for cutting me off on purpose.
No, you could be like, okay, like whatever he's going through, like whatever has caused him to be angry, you know, like you don't have to let it be part of your reality. Like he's having a hard time in life, whatever, he's having a bad day, you don't know what happened in his day, but you don't have to let it affect your day.
I wouldn't even go that far. I could care less about his day. Like I just know that I'm not going to give away my energy.
Right.
You're not willing. You're not very good. So you're saying I'm not willing to let someone else's issues or negativity decide my state of being. I have an issue with that, though. I don't disagree with that. I agree with that. My issue with that is that doesn't promote this. That just promotes not this. You hear the difference?
No. I'll give you an example.
No, because I'm going. This guy, I could easily lose it, right? But I know that I'm challenging myself to make sure that I have control over my emotions, no matter what happens.
Right.
So let's say it's something, when you practice that muscle, it's small things. But when big things happen, you're also you're cool.
Yeah.
And that puts you in a state where if you control your emotions and you can more readily see the spiritual clarity when it exists. The guy on the road is of no concern to me, but it might be of concern when I'm dealing with a friend. It might be concerned when I'm dealing with a student.
Right.
It might be in business. Right. If I practice it there's enough people, you could drive around all day long in Houston and practice controlling your emotions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just on that alone. Right? If you did that for a week, you just took your car and drove for a week, you would probably be really, really good and challenge yourself to compose yourself every single time somebody cut you off or did something.
Right.
To know, and about, I'm assuming in a week, you'd probably pretty
I think that's still
good at
really,
it.
don't you say
Just
it's not
keep
this?
attention.
Yeah.
Because you're controlling
Not
yourself
keep
from
attention
being
to it.
angry.
Like
Right.
someone is
You're
cutting
not
you off.
this.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
A muscle. He's saying
Right. I mean,
every little.
I think what Nir is saying is that it flexes a muscle of self-control, but I still kind of feel like there's a lot more to it.
I think it's more of a balance between different situations, because when you can, I think you're right. I think it is not going up. It's just controlling how much you go down,
or don't.
or don't go down.
What would be going
but
up?
But the thing about that is,
Loving
if you if you're stabilizing yourself on this plane here and not going down,
That's
when
already
when good things happen, you're not at a baseline down here. Your baseline is here.
Right, meaning it's
So you get more.
meaning by staying.
I love it when people challenge me. That's like, so now I'm like, okay, so what is it that would be? I need to hear
here's what's bothering me. What's bothering me is that after your reaction to this driver, you're not necessarily feeling on a high. Rather,
you know how exciting
rather, what you're feeling is like, that's right, I'm not mad. But you're not feeling like, yes, I want to feel yes.
Well, I don't know that you can. First of all, you don't know how I feel in those instances, because I'm like, I actually take pleasure in how quickly I can, like, reset.
Right.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right? Because something happened, could have gotten frustrated. I'm like, no. Or you almost get hit. Like there's almost accidents. I'm taking the driving.
Yeah.
Almost in an accident.
Yeah.
But I don't let it go. Oh my god.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that.
But
that's not negativity to have a
reaction.
reaction.
I'm trying to. It's a big thing on like personality differences, because for you, like, it's like you're like, okay, I didn't get angry. Like, you're controlling the impulse to be angry. But then for other people, it could just be like, okay, like, they cut me off, but it's not like I'm controlling my impulse to be angry, because there isn't an impulse to be angry.
So then it's not a challenge for them. They're not going to be. There's no
because
size.
they trained themselves in a while that they're not.
Maybe that's not maybe for them the exercise would be to get angry.
I think what you're saying is. I think what he's saying is right in the first place.
Yeah,
that there's. I think
it's just control.
The way he said it is like every time you do it, you're flexing a muscle, and so. Okay, you're not on a high, but you're still moving upward.
Right. Let me give you an example from.
You're not letting it affect the rest of
Let me give you an example.
There's definitely positivity. There's definitely positivity.
Let me give you an example from my day to day. I'm usually on the road all the time, so I'm getting used to it. So when someone's cutting me off, I'm not getting nervous or excited from it. But for example, today I actually did lost it, not on the road, in court. I was in court today to do some, to running errands. And there was a process that didn't work the way I wanted to, and I just really got upset, and was actually doing, the rocking my foot that much. I got really angry.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the appropriate setting to mention something very funny. I stumbled across, somebody sent me a video, and just on the topic of self-controlling, okay? But I don't know if this is, okay. Ben Shapiro was on a thing sitting down with 3 other people, and one of them was, I believe, a transgender person. And they were having a discussion, and everything started great. They were mutually respectful. They were having a debate, and Ben Shapiro was making the argument that your decision to self-identify yourself a certain way doesn't force me to question what I consider to be biologically true, which is that you're born a guy, you're a guy. Fine. It was an argument. Next thing you know, out of nowhere, the transgender guy, or girl, or whatever, puts his hand on Ben Shapiro, and Ben Shapiro starts turning purple because he doesn't know what's coming next. In front of everybody, in front of this video, there's like 5 other people there. And he's like, if you want, you can go home in an ambulance, And Shapiro was like, well, that doesn't seem like a very civil, argumentative type of reaction, And the guy like moved that, and he realized what kind of thing. What?
The guy was
No, the guy that he was arguing with, couldn't handle the argument.
Oh, so he was.
So his immediate reaction, in life, with all characters, like Chaim in court, you with the guy swiping you in the car, your real status is made apparent when something unpredictable comes your way. When you are faced with an obnoxious individual, when you are swerved on the road, when someone cuts you off in line at Walmart, that's where you're tested because you have no preparation for that. How will you pass the test? If you've acknowledged this issue early on in advance and have already started making steps to work on this issue before you find yourself in that scenario.
Rabbi, the realization I came after a few minutes that it was the thing that happened. I'll tell you the whole story. I'm trying to change my name to actual spelling correctly. So the only problem is I filed on October for a name change, and since I took the time to refile it, I lost the money for the petition. They just closed the case.
Yikes.
So I lost $250 for that. So I got so upset, but I thought to myself, like, the only person I can be upset is me, because I took the time not to file it on time.
Yeah. You know what happened to me? I gave money to a meshulach once, someone who was collecting money, and he was shady, and I shouldn't have done this, but I gave him a check. I no longer give checks. I give cash, and I highly recommend the rest of you do the same, unless you're very good at writing checks. Give him a check for $18. I wrote 18, and I wrote the words 18, but I didn't write 18 to the left of the line. I wrote it in the middle because I was like in a rush. He caught me at a bad time. The guy added the number 9 before 18, and he added the words 900 before 18. And the money left my account. And don't worry, I ended up getting the money back. But at the time, the banks were telling me, we're sorry. You got to learn how to write a check. There's no way we can. There's no way. And so I'm like, I'm sorry.
They didn't teach me that in school.
I would like to. This is the thing Danielle would probably do. It's like, okay, so how do I change banks? Can you just tell me what are the forms? Right? That's how you would react, right? Can I have the forms to change banks? And they're like, okay, sir. So we have this process where we can investigate and we'll see what we can do. They got right. They did. It took them 6 months. It took them 6 months. It took them 6 months, but they immediately wired that exact amount back into my account. No, not 6 months later. 6 months later. No. As soon as they concluded their investigative process.
I think that means what you think it means. He said that directly immediately 6 months later.
6 months later, as soon as they concluded the investigative process, they immediately wired the money straight into my account.
You could cancel that check. You pay like $30.
No, it was too late.
No.
By the time but I don't check my bank account every single day. Maybe I don't know if you guys do. I don't check my bank account every single day. Maybe every other day or whatever. But like one day I check my. I'm like, honey, did you spend $918? No. I'm like, so what is this? And then I realized the bank now today you can immediately just look at the check and you see what's going on. And then when I saw it, it was like one of those horror movie moments where it's like da 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 da, and you like realize that I didn't write that 9 or those words 900. It was like it was a moment like I think my heart missed the beat.
They take a picture when
What?
you deposit.
Oh, so your bank automatically whenever you process the check or when you cash a check whatever. Well, yeah.
You can view.
It's documented. You can always.
Last summer, my phone got smashed in Israel. Smashed. It got smashed in Israel, and then I had to pay like $200 to get it fixed.
Yeah.
And my Hasidic friend was with me throughout the whole ordeal. And he was like, "This just shows you God didn't want you to have those $200." And I was like, "Get away from me." He's right though, to a degree.
Yeah. So money comes, money goes. Listen, ultimately, guys, ultimately, the amount of money that we are meant to have is what we get. If you lose money, that was not money that you were meant to have. Sometimes it could be that you're not giving maaser. I highly encourage all of you who can afford it, because if you can't afford it, you're absolved. But if you can afford to give 10% of your salary to a charity, then that is a biblical. That is a biblical. That was very high pitched. That was
really. I was like, what did he say? It took me like half a second to register.
That is extremely worthy, and God finds favor in that, and you will find. I also had a nice thing. Also, how many of you are in the have the custom of buying lottery tickets? Raise your hand.
Lottery?
Nobody?
Twice a year.
Twice a year? That's it?
Twice a year.
So I'd like to present an argument.
I guess.
I would like to present an argument
Just
here.
give me a deal
1
for
second.
a birthday gift
Whoa,
for
1 second.
tomorrow.
Listen, listen. I heard a story that a rabbi, I forgot which one, asked one of his disciples, "Do you buy lottery tickets?" And the guy was like, "No, Rabbi. Why? Aren't I supposed to do my due diligence and work for a living? I can't rely on God." So listen to what the rabbi answered his student. He said, "Yeah, but if God wants to give you, right, he wants you to win the lottery, how is he going to do that if you never buy the ticket?"
Right, if he wants you to have the
So
money,
I know a lot of
you don't
people
need
who
to
buy lottery tickets every week to provide a conduit for God to send the blessing should He want to. One thing's for sure: if you don't buy the lottery ticket, you're never going to win the lottery, right?
How many times?
Lottery tickets only cost $2-3.
How many times has a
Or you
religious
could put
Jew won the lottery?
every week.
How many times has the religious Jew won the lottery?
I'm sure it's happened.
I'm sure it's happened.
So
What?
every time you
I've
want
won
to buy a
the
lottery
lottery.
ticket,
I've won
put
the
that
small
exact
wins,
amount of
like
money in a
£5,
jar, and in 10 years,
£6
open the jar, and you'll win the lottery.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Did you hear that?
What?
No.
Yes.
That if you
we all
put
did.
the money that you would have spent on a lottery every week in a jar, 20 years later, you actually have a decent amount of money that you've saved.
Probably more than you want.
And you're guaranteed that
before-
money.
You could
versus-
also
Before I
run
quit
a savings
smoking.
account.
Before I quit smoking, I thought if I quit smoking, I'll have all this money that I'm spending on cigarettes.
And has that worked for you?
I don't have
Spend
any
it
more
on
money.
something
You
else.
don't have any more
No,
money?
because I saved money to buy cigarettes.
Okay, so I
Now
hate
I
to say
don't
this.
buy cigarettes.
No, but you're
I don't
supposed to
save
put
that
the
money
same
for it.
money into
Supposed
what?
to. But
Why
like,
would you, like, see
He's
how-
like, don't criticize me for not doing this system right.
You
I
spend
do
it
it
on
when
beer.
I like do something
No, don't do
that
that either
it's
now.
hard for me to do. Like
Spend it
I
on
reward
his
myself, I'll put
girlfriend.
that into like a savings account. And then
Okay, guys,
when
this
that
takes me. Guys,
What is that thing?
this brings me to it's a fidget spinner.
Something to fidget with?
Apparently, it calms people with ADHD. I don't know that I have that. I've never checked myself or been diagnosed, but it's surprisingly calming. I don't know. I have no idea. No, apparently that's what you want to try it. Apparently, it's here. Apparently, it's marketed as such. But can I have everybody's focus for the next 3 minutes, and then we're gonna have dinner, okay? This is the most important point. Here, pass it.
Okay,
That's
this
why
is
people- that's why people
making
love
her
it. What? Yes, it is.
It's
It's
making
not
her-
supposed to stop.
No, it
That's
does.
crazy.
It does.
if
No,
it
it
stops,
does.
you're doing it wrong.
It
How
does
is this
stop.
doing
That's a cheap
It's
one.
not stopping.
Okay, listen. We have people here that want to hear Torah. Okay.
Okay, it's fine.
Austin, you want to hold it? Okay. There you go. All right. This is the main point I want to come out to. Okay. And there's many answers to this. This is what we want to address. Okay, guys, everybody, Ori, Nir, just give me 3 minutes, and this is exactly what I want to share. Okay. Different people have different strategies to be happy. What I'm sharing with you is the one that works for me, and I'm pretty sure it can work for you. And the idea is like this. The best way for a person to help themselves is by helping others. The only way you are going to help others is if you train yourselves, if we train ourselves, if one trains himself to be able to love others. If a person is constantly living in a state of I'm not happy, I'm not hungry, this person bothered me, this person sideswiped me, this person is giving me a hard time, I am having a difficult situation dealing with this person, this issue. The more we are self-absorbed with ourselves, the less we have the ability to make positive differences in others. God did not put us in a bubble world. We are not in an existence that really enables 99% of humanity. 99% of us in this world are not really able to survive without other human interaction. And the same way we explain that a person's parnasa, a person's livelihood, a person's health, are all things that were predetermined by God. And once we find ourselves in that situation, we do the best we can with what we have. If I have $50,000 a year, that's exactly what I need to maximize my life. If I have this exact health situation, okay, that's exactly what I need to maximize my life. Well, if you find yourself in a world where you are with peers, you are with employees, you are with colleagues, you are with students, you are with teachers, you are with fellow soldiers, then those individuals are meant to be in your life. If they are meant to be in your life, then there's a reason why they're in your life, and it is not for you to ignore them. So what I find that works for me, and I hope you can try to see if this can work for you, is this idea that let me worry less about myself. Let me think less about what's going to make me happy. Let me experiment and try to make others happy. And if I can make others happy, let me try to see if that makes me happy. If by making others happy, that makes me happy, then I'm doing something right. Note to self, you will not succeed in making others happy if you do not develop a framework, a way to actually love those people. You cannot give to people that you don't love. What does it mean to love? Tzvi, I'll get to you in a second. Okay? Love is not an emotion of, do I identify with this person? Do they speak my lingo? Do we share things in common? Mutual sports teams? Rabbi Noah Weinberg defines love, okay, as, right, the pleasure that one receives when finding virtue in another and identifying that person with that virtue. Again, love can be defined as the pleasure that one receives when finding virtue in another human being and identifying that human being with that virtue. Yes, this person might speak this way, but he's generous. Yes, that person speaks a little bit nastily or whatever, or they're stingy, but they are very kind. Whatever it is, every human being has something good about themselves. God created us b'tselem Elokim. God created all of us. The Torah says we were all created in God's image. If we're in God's image, by definition, we have godliness within us. It is up to us to find it within us, but, my friends, it is up to us to find it in others. I'll never forget. I was sitting down one Shabbat day meal about 2 years ago with someone, and he was sitting there next to me, and yeah, he's been on the dating scene for a very long time. So I asked him, in a friendly kind of way, hey, what's going on? Why aren't you married? What's going on? He told me, Rabbi, I have this issue. Every single time I date an individual, I have this uncanny ability to immediately highlight in my mind a whole list of everything that I can see as an issue with that person. Every single negative thing that I can see an issue with that person. And so what am I thinking in my mind? I'm thinking, now I totally understand why you're not married. I didn't tell him this. I wasn't yet close enough with him to tell him this. Even now, I don't know if I would tell him this, right? But yeah, if a person is trained to immediately look at the bad, that doesn't take any chidush. That doesn't really take much to be able to see the bad in other people. We're all full of it. We're very, the bad in people is unfortunately very evident. But the same way, you get up in the morning and you look at yourself in the mirror and it doesn't ruin your day because you know that you're trying to get better and you want to get better and you're ready to give yourself another chance. The same is true with everyone else. Everyone else deserves to be given that chance, and everyone else deserves to be loved. Everyone else deserves to be loved. So again, in my humble opinion, we titled the class Positivity, It's in Your Hands. You can be positive. We can all be positive, even in the most difficult moments. If you feel like you're having a hard time, then what that means is you're too much into your shell. Get out of your shell. Do something to help someone else. You do something to help someone else, you'll be doing yourself the greatest favor. But never forget that in order to help that someone else, you need to develop the ability to love that person for who they are, to be able to highlight and choose to look at what's beautiful about them. That's how God can get away with, and I say quotes on, I say that in quotes, that's how God can get away with commanding us to express what would otherwise seem to be an emotion. What if I don't like Nir, and I don't want to love him, right? You're saying tough luck, but no, I need to love you, right? God says, I have to love him. How can God command me to love him if I don't identify with him? He's not my type of guy, right? The answer is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't have to get along with him. I have to choose to see the beauty in him. And if I choose to see the beauty with him and identify him with that virtue, and that forms the base, of my relationship with him and everyone else that I interact with, then my relationships will be great and I'll be in a position to be a person of giving. There are takers and there are givers in this world. The more we train ourselves to be givers, the happier we'll be And that is a free will decision that can be made at all moments of life. Any questions? Any comments? Yes, Chaim.
Actually, I have another comment to say about this subject.
Yeah.
Remember, there was a session that was given to us in the army just before I almost finished it by Avrech. I don't remember his name. He says something else about happiness. He said that a lot of people have the conception in their mind that if they're going to have another material, they're going to be happy. You touched that a little bit.
Yeah.
He said that this conception is wrong. It's not about the material. Happiness is a state of mind. As long as you understand that your happiness is not related to anything, just the fact that you exist and you're healthy and you're good, that's good enough to be happy.
That's right.
I'm not sure if this is disagreeing with what you said, but it's a slightly different approach. I don't think you can love or help another person unless you love and look after yourself. You can't, like, you're saying if you, like, the way to love yourself is to love other people. I think it's the other way around. I agree as well.
Not the way to love yourself is to love other people. The way to be happy. Of course you have to love yourself, but I am inclined to think that people naturally love themselves. Correct me?
I don't mean in like an egotistical kind of way. I mean like
we naturally love ourselves.
If they would, they would probably be happy.
Yeah. You can't love yourself if you're not happy. You can hate how things are for you and wish it was different. And that's
some
way
people
that you
don't
love
love themselves. There's a lot of people
then they're not
themselves
happy.
as failure.
Then they're not happy.
Yeah.
You're saying in order to be happy, you need to love other people. But I don't think you can love other people unless you love yourself. Not really love other people unless you love yourself.
So,
and I don't mean in an arrogant, egotistical kind of way. I mean genuinely happy with the person you are.
So you're talking about being samech bechalko. You're talking about coming to terms with your lot in life and
not
being happy
coming
with
to
it.
terms with it, because once you do that, I think you stop trying.
What's preventing a person from being happy with themselves?
The way they
It could
think.
be different things.
Why do they think bad about themselves?
Because it depends what they
Happiness
believe.
isn't something that happens to you.
A person can intellectually train themselves to be happy with themselves. Right?
Yeah.
Does anybody disagree with that?
No, I agree.
Okay. So what? Listen, your very existence is a gift.
I think what
You didn't have to be alive.
Not everyone feels that way.
But I'm showing you the intellectual argument. I agree. Not everybody feels this way. I'm giving perspective to explain how in my opinion,
what if they think
mental illness aside, I think people should be able to intellectually convince themselves that they ought to be grateful and thankful.
then everybody would be doing that?
Huh?
Then everyone would do that.
Everybody would do it. If it was that easy, everybody would do it.
We didn't say it was easy.
Everybody not doing it because they're not choosing to
First
see
of all,
that
it's not
the
always
way
easy. First of all, it's not always easy.
No, but
right?
you're saying
It's not supposed
you're making the point that it's a logical argument. And I'm saying, let's just say you could post now to the whole world. The logical argument is you should be happy because life is a gift.
Yeah. Sorry, but it's super easy to hate yourself. You get bullied every day. People say bad things about you at school, and you go home, and there's no one else that tells you otherwise. It's super easy.
Right. I don't agree. I don't disagree that it's super easy. I just think that's a reaction as opposed to an intellectual decision.
Yeah, just
you're making a decision to let something bother you. You could also make a decision to be happy. And if you were to realize with foresight that your decision to be happy, notwithstanding your justifiable excuse for being angry, will make you a more positive, energetic, productive person, people would be making that decision more often. And you're right, Nir. And if they don't, that's because they are choosing not to. And it's sad. It's unfortunate. But they don't have to be making that decision.
I don't know that I would say that it's them choosing that way. I just think that
Maybe they don't realize.
They don't have the self-awareness that you have to even understand that it's a choice they can make. I think some people
I'll agree,
aren't at that point in their life where
Right.
they know themselves well enough to know what it is that makes them happy or what it is that would make them comfortable.
Right. Okay, I agree with that. I can agree with that. Sure.
I do believe, though, that everything that we have, like if someone suffers from depression, I don't think that God would give them depression without also giving them the skills and tools to fight that depression and be okay. Now, obviously, some people have more severe depression than others, and
I think
it makes it more difficult. But I do believe that God didn't give things to people without the ability to overcome it. And obviously, if you were born without legs, you can't just overcome that and start walking. But I mean, overcome it in a mental way that you realize that life isn't about having legs. You don't agree?
No, I'm saying you can have legs these days.
Okay, fine. You can have legs these days.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, you can have legs these days. But 200 years ago, when it was just like 2 planks of wood, a bit more. I'm saying, I think if
Daniel, you're a philosophy major. Why don't you lend us some insight? Why don't you share with us what your thoughts are on this topic?
I mean, it's.
Yeah, guys, we're gonna continue this discussion over dinner. Thank you all for joining us on Facebook, and have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.